So let's get started. We'll continue with the next session. ABAP Test Cockpit goes cloud. This is about ABAP Test Cockpit on SAP BTP. Let's take a short look at the agenda. I will do a short introduction, and then we'll take a look at the use cases which are available with ATC on BTP. Then we will talk about the features overview, and you will see a lot of live demos. And in the end, a short summary. So I hope most of you already know ABAP Test Cockpit. ABAP Test Cockpit is our central quality assurance tool, which is available as a central solution. So you can set up a central system in the landscape connected via RFC with the development systems in your landscape. And in that sense, you have one quality standard for the whole landscape, and you have minimized administration efforts. You are screen sharing.
Gerade noch mal neu. Stop share.
Okay.
No,
yeah. Okay. Thank you. So now you see my screen. So central ABAP Test Cockpit system in the landscape can be connected with the premise systems via RFC. You have the same quality standard for the whole development landscape. You can execute the same checks over the systems. And you have all kinds of checks available there. You have standard code inspector checks, including SLIN checks. You have security checks by CVA. SAP HANA S/4HANA checks, cloud readiness checks, and you can also write your own checks, and you can also execute ABAP unit tests. So, and having in mind the benefits of the whole cloud solutions and also SAP strategy, cloud goes first, we have decided to move the central ABAP Test Cockpit into the cloud. And now ABAP Test Cockpit is available on SAP BTP inside of SAP BTP ABAP environment. And it brings a lot of advantages for you because you don't need anymore maintain a central ATC system on premise. You don't need to take care about the whole setup, about maintenance, about upgrade. If you think about central ATC, how it works, it can only check the systems of the same release or lower releases. And every time you get a newer system into your landscape, like for example, S/4HANA 2023, then you need also upgrade your central ATC system in order to be able to check this system with the central ATC hub as well. And you don't need to do it anymore since you have ATC on BTP, which is upgraded automatically, which is always up to date on the newest release. And you can check any system of your landscape using the central ATC on BTP. On top of that, you get always the newest innovations, all the newest features inside of this system, and it is always up to date. If you now take a look at the use cases which we provide with the central ATC in the cloud, so there are some of them. For example, you can use ATC for your developments inside of SAP BTP ABAP environment. It means if you develop really inside of BTP ABAP environment, then you can benefit from ATC inside of the system. You have the ATC default check variant, which we as SAP deliver to you, which bundles all the necessary checks which should be executed for the quality assurance in ABAP Cloud Development Default Check variant. You can use also CVA checks, Code Vulnerability Analyzer checks without any additional licensing fee, which are available there directly in your development system on BTP. And you can execute ATC checks, manage ATC check variants, create and approve ATC exemptions, and all this is happening inside of ABAP development tools in Eclipse. The same procedure is also valid for ATC for developments inside of S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition. There you use the same ABAP Cloud Development Default check variant, which bundles all the checks which are necessary for statistical quality assurance there. And also you maintain the whole check variants. You have the exemption procedure workflow inside of ABAP development tools for Eclipse. But the focus of today's sessions is on the real central ATC system, which can be used on BTP for checking of your on-premise or S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition systems. In that sense, Central ATC is also available in SAP BTP ABAP environment, and it consists of some apps which are provided to you in order to execute the checks, to manage the exemptions workflow, to create your own check variants, your own checks, and so on. So let's take a look now at these use cases, which features are available there. The custom code analysis is available in the custom code migration app, so you can execute a central check run over the custom code in the system on-premise or private cloud system using custom code migration app. For some of you, probably this custom code migration app is already familiar, because probably some of you have already used it during your S/4HANA system conversion projects in order to check your code for S/4HANA readiness. And that time, custom code migration app supported two use cases, checking the code during system conversion for S/4HANA readiness, and in addition, for the custom code transformation to BTP, for example, if you want just move the code to BTP ABAP environment, it was also able to create BTP migration project and check the code for cloud readiness. We extended the custom code migration app in that sense that the app is now also able to check the classic ATC use cases. So you can use custom code migration app as a central ATC run system and provide there any classic ATC check variant. Of course, the check variant must be cloud enabled and RPC enabled and be available on BTP ABAP environment. You have some benefits there. Also, you can consider, for example, usage state, execute code analysis and focus your analysis on the only used code. And you have different filters. You can filter results. And you have also the view on quick fixes. We provide some quick fixes for some areas. For example, in security issues, you can benefit from some automated quick fixes also available there. And you will see in the app which issues you can fix with the quick fixes. As I already said, using ATC on BTP has the advantage for you that Code Vulnerability Analyzer checks can be used without any additional license fee. So you probably know you need to license separately Code Vulnerability Analyzer checks if you use them on-premise or in private cloud edition of S/4HANA or in ECC. But now you can use them directly as a custom code analysis project inside of the custom code migration app. We bundle them in as lean-sec check variant and consider also security issues in your code without having to pay for it anymore. If you configure ATC, you use the new app ATC configurator, which is provided also on BTP inside of BTP ABAP environment. Using ATC configurator, you can set, for example, ATC check variant as default. And you can also define additional configuration capabilities. Like, for example, you can adjust priorities of the check messages, higher priority. You can exclude some ATC checks. Very important are transport settings. If you use central ATC for checking of your on-premise or private cloud edition systems, you need still to configure your transport settings inside of on-premise or private cloud edition system. So the ATC configurator app configures the transport settings only for developments inside of BTP ABAP environment. But if you use it as a central ATC check system, then configure transport settings inside of on-premise system as well. So there is no SAP GUI inside of BTP ABAP environment, and therefore you don't have code inspector where you can maintain the check variants. And the way to maintain check variants is to go into ABAP development tools for Eclipse. And there we have dedicated editor where you can display existing check variant. You can change the check variant, create your own one. Also, we provide the API, which enables you to create your own ATC checks. If you have some created ATC check variants on premise and you want to transport them into your cloud ATC system, it's also possible by using ABAP Git, and we support the transport for ATC check variants, check objects, and check categories. By the way, on each slide of this presentation, you have the links where you can just jump to the blogs and have detailed information about the whole capabilities. Last but not least, you can also schedule ATC runs of BTP. The scheduling app is based on BTP application jobs, and you have schedule custom code analysis app, which is based on the custom code projects which are created in the custom code migration app. So the first step is to create such project for custom code analysis, and then use the predefined templates inside of schedule custom code analysis app, and then just schedule your execution of the ATC run. You can plan start time, recurrency, and so on. And the result after the executed scheduled ATC run will be also provided in the custom code migration app as well. Having said this, I would like to hand over to Thomas, who will show us the demo regarding to the typical tasks which quality expert needs to do in order to execute ATC run, configure ATC, and schedule ATC runs. So, Thomas, the stage is yours.
Thank you. All right. So my name is Thomas Fiedler. I'm usually the product owner of the ABAP development tools. But today I'm a senior developer at a company, and I'm already working since a couple of weeks now in setting up the ATC in cloud for our company. Just a few days before going live with that solution, my manager came to me in the room and said, "Hey, Thomas, I saw on that ABAPConf a very nice new tool called the Code Pal. So these are clean ABAP code checks, and I want to have this because I want to have clean code as well in my system." All right. So as said, normally on Monday we went live. So I looked a little bit what I found on Google. So and I definitely found that Code Pal, so these clean code checks, that's an open source project. I already have opened here the GitHub repository where all the checks are included, and there is also a style guide where you also find how you should develop in a modern way in ABAP. And this is exactly what I want to use now. How can I eliminate that one here? Maybe so. And the first thing that I want to do is now I want to import these checks in my central check system. So central check system is a normal BTP ABAP environment system in that case. So I can connect with my ADT to the system and also use all the Fiori apps that are available there. And the first thing that I'm using is because I want to that I want to import these checks from the GitHub repository in my ABAP system. Therefore, I'm using the ABAP Git client in my ADT. So I did this already, just linked this GitHub repository with my package here, and then I imported that. I also had a nice colleague who helped me by that. He's also in that room. And oder scherst du vielleicht besser? Ich werde, oder? Ja. Yeah, so this is already in my system. And the good thing is that not only the checks are imported, there is also coming already a variant with all these checks that you can see here. So there are a lot of checks implemented, especially this is of interest here for my manager because he wants that our developers only using the modern language elements and not the old obsolete stuff anymore. And therefore, I would try to start with that one here. And first thing that I want to do is to first have an overview, okay, how many findings we will get when I integrate this check in our variant, because I don't want to disturb too much our developers when we go live with that solution. And I also fear that they maybe pick me up in the car at the morning. Therefore, I first want to do a check run over my system for my own. And therefore, I'm now using the Fiori apps. So here I'm in the Fiori launchpad of my ABAP environment system. So with the role of for the ABAP Test Cockpit configuration. So basically, I have the custom code migration app. I think the name is not the best one. We are also thinking about having a renaming here that is more focused on the real ABAP Test Cockpit use case. Then I have the configuration, the scheduler, and then the exemption app. I want to start with that one here because I said I first want to do a small check what these new code PAL checks are really doing. Therefore, I create here a custom code analysis project. Everything is already configured, so I have configured the configuration, the connection to my on-premise systems, cloud connector, all these kind of things. I did this on my own. Yes, Ingo? And I give it a name, Clean Core Test, let's say. Open the system. There you see who helped me. And then I directly choose this pre-configured variant here. What I also can do that this run does not take too long. I can also specify here only one package where I want to do the checks. So I only choose this one here. And that's it already. Maybe one small remark, because there's also a change in the app. So in the past, there was when you were saving the project and directly the ATC run starts. This is sometimes not so handy when you, for example, want to use the scheduler, because then you first have to delete this one and then schedule. So there's now also the possibility that I can delay that automatic start here via this part. But I don't want to do this now. I want to go back. Create this project. And then the ATC run starts. So now the usual logic, the check runs on the BTP ABAP environment, but the code is still on premise. So there is some kind of IRC connectivity in between, analyzing the coding and then doing the check. So this takes now a few seconds. So we're only checking 5 objects. All right, that's it already. So we get 12 findings. Just click on that. And then you see what's happening. So this modern language check here. So for example, the move statement is not recommended anymore. So clear, okay, developers should not use that. And then there are also some things like, okay, the old version of the call method should not be used, or also not create objects, or all these kind of things, which are available in the style guide for clean ABAP. They are available as checks, and I want to use that. And there you also see, it's very nice because I have here the quick fix indicator where I see, I have 11 quick fixes for that. Maybe that's nice because I get some credits at my developers because they can just fix the findings with one click in the IDE, so they don't have to think about, okay, what's the new version of the call method and things like that. So this is all done automatically by the tool later on. All right. Then I go back to my ADT because now I want to integrate this check here into my standard variant. So this was the one that I downloaded from GitHub. Now I use the other one. So this is This that I already have configured. I also integrated for sure the security checks because that's anyhow for free available in the BTP ABAP environment. Then I also have integrated the new ABAP Cloud Readiness checks because I only want to use released APIs. So you heard this already in some presentations of today that we now have released APIs and there are also ATC checks available. So this I want to use. And there I already see here the code pal that I can use here. And for the beginning, I'm just using this modern language check here, so I can just click on that and that's it. Maybe these from you, we are not so familiar with the modern way of configuring an ATC. So you maybe know this from the code inspector, so the old SAP GUI user interface. This is now also migrated towards an Eclipse editor. There's also a transport object behind there, so you can transport it. There's also the possibility to provide this into a Git repository via ABAP, all this kind of things. So all this that you know about the goodies that you get when you have a transport object. Okay, I think this was it already for part one. Maybe Olga, you can take over. And I look in the meanwhile what I had forgot.
Okay, then let's continue with the slides. What Thomas has shown to you are typical tasks of the quality manager or quality expert in the landscape. And now we'll take a look at the central ATC from the developer perspective. So as the developer, you work on your on-premise or private cloud development systems. And of course, you want also benefit from this central ATC on BTP. You want to use the checks which are available there in order to test your developments on regular basis with these checks on BTP. It's also possible with so-called developer scenario. For those of you who use ATC on-premise, it's a remote hub solution. Then you probably already know you can connect your development systems to the central ATC and use the central ATC check variant from the central ATC system. And the same developer scenario is also available if you use ATC on BTP. So your systems are connected by the setup via Cloud Connector and RFC to the central BTP system, and the Cloud ATC variant is also can be referenced in your on-premise or private cloud system through the so-called proxy check variant, which will be created in the on-premise system, and then you can use the central checks on BTP. You can execute these checks, you can view check results, you can check your transports before release. You can, of course, take care of the findings, use the quick fixes, and also request the exemptions from your quality expert. For the exemptions workflow for your on-premise development, we have the following process. As a developer, you create the exemption in ABAP development tools in Eclipse during your development process after executing ATC run. Of course, with the central checks from the central ATC on BTP, you get the findings. And if you think for this finding, you need to request the exemption because you don't want to take care of it, or it's true, false, positive finding, then you just use the context menu in ABAP development tools for Eclipse and request exemption. You define exemption scope, and then you provide also justification, and the exemption will be provided to your quality expert in the so-called Approve ATC Exemption app in SAP BTP ABAP environment, and then your quality expert will take care of it and decides if to approve or reject it or how to process it. Last but not least, there is also ATC baseline available. And for those of you who know the baseline from ATC on-premise, the baseline is good to exclude the findings in old legacy code. The findings which are taken in the baseline are not considered anymore, will not pop up in the next upcoming ATC run. And in the ATC on BTP, the baseline is based on this custom code migration, bad word, probably custom code projects, which you create in the custom code migration app, because there you execute ATC run, and then you can take the findings of this run into baseline, so you can exempt them or suppress them, just exclude from the result, or assign a lower priority to these findings. And the outcome of the putting findings into baseline would be that the findings will not appear in the central ATC check result anymore. If you again create custom code projects with the same check variant, execute again ATC run, you will not get these findings. And another benefit is, of course, the developer who had his findings in his ADT will not get the findings if he executes ATC run over his development. So this was with regard to the baseline. Now we are in the developer role, and I would like to hand over to Thomas again to show us developer scenario and ATC exemption app.
All right. Now I'm changing my role. I'm not the guy who is setting up the ATC. Now I'm taking over the role of a developer. It's Monday morning. I took my first coffee, looked at my emails, and then I saw one email from our quality team that some new tool was established over the weekend called ABAP Test Cockpit, and that we should have a look a little bit more on our code quality, which I think it's not relevant for me because I'm a developer and I will not do these kind of things. So I think I can just do development as last week. But okay. Before I do that, let's give it a try. Maybe it's a good tool. Maybe okay, I will play around with that. And they told me I will find that in my ATC here. When I click on the package, for example, I can trigger these code checks. And this pop-up comes up. That's the variant. And I show this because you can also directly execute this, but I show this to explain a little bit how this is implemented, because now I can pick here this so-called proxy variant, which is more or less only, I can trigger this already. So the idea is that you configure on the one hand side in your development system, where I'm here, which variant is triggered on the central system. And the variant, you've seen this before in my ADT demo, I have configured on the cloud system. Therefore, I need this link from my on-premise systems where I have this proxy variant. So I do not configure a variant or something. It's just to have this locally available. It's only a pointer to the variant in my on-premise systems. Why do I tell this all? Because I have to open a little bit, wait until this check run here is finished. Therefore, I thought it is a perfect idea to explain this a little bit in more detail, how this works. So the ATC is already working. Yeah, so it's a complex coding here in the implementation. And I already like that tool because, yeah, you will see that in a few seconds. No. Because the run is already finished. Nice try. So I've here my business partner implementation. By the way, I want to transport this through the landscape today. But when I now look on these results, and I also saw in the email that now it is not possible anymore to transport any kind of coding which has ATC issues. I have a lot of fun today because I now have to think to solve these issues here. And why is my Eclipse not responding anymore?
Because I haven't answered the question.
Yeah. This guy has access to the backend system. Okay, now it's okay. So I have here the list of ATC findings here. And that, okay, I cannot use these obsolete statements here anymore. And I also have to use a different syntax for my call method. All nice, but I don't want to do this manually, right? So this is stupid. So I just using here some nice tooling which is integrated here, the so-called quick fixes. Maybe you know this already in the case you did already a S4 transformation, because there we also have quick fixes for the order by and all the other things here. This is also available for the code pal, and here makes definitely sense because most of the stuff here is just a reformatting, let's say, of the statements here. So this can be done automatically, and this you can trigger here. This is also that what you've seen in the app, right, with this quick fix indicator. And then you see, okay, in that case, I can fix 9 of these findings here automatically. So I can just go over it. I'll click next. And now the next one, this is definitely not something for me because I trust this tool here. And I just click finish. And then these changes are done automatically into my coding. Successfully, perfect. So that's one thing. Then I see, oh, these guys, they want to force me to use release API, but that's definitely not something that I want to do now. I can also do this at the end of the release or right before the end of the release. So I want to apply an exemption for that, right? So that I can release my transport here. Therefore, we have integrated the exemption workflow. So exemption just means that this finding is then not valid for me anymore. So I can transport, I can go on with my developments. So I do this. You have the possibility to say, okay, let's do it only for that one single finding, or I can also do this for the whole method or for the whole class or even for the whole package. But maybe for the whole package, I'm not sure if the quality manager will say, okay, here, so I'm maybe try with the finding here. Go through it. Reason. And finish. It's already done. And then I also saw that other things like I cannot imagine that our whole developer like that when they get errors for that. So I also sent the email to my quality expert, say maybe you can lower the priority a little bit. Maybe warning is okay. Okay, that's what I also did. So now I'm changing back to the role of a developer of ESMA as the quality manager. Next time I'm wearing different hats. It's maybe easier to recognize in which role I'm currently in. So now, first of all, I get this email that the priority is a little bit too high. Now, okay, I will be smart here and change this. But that I have the Test Cockpit configuration app, and there I see all the messages, all the findings which are installed more or less on that system. And in that case, I know it was something about the modern language, right? And there I see, okay, this call method he mentioned in his email. I want to lower the priority here a little bit. And you can say, okay, let's make from this a 1. So all done centrally. So this also then valid for all connected systems. So you only have to configure this on the central system. And that's it already. And then was the second demand that is concerning the exemption. Therefore, I'm now going into the exemption app. And there I already see, okay, there is this from this developer here. Okay, don't care for that. Okay, no problem. Maybe he fixes it next week. But to assure that, I will approve that exemption only with an expiration date. And I don't use that one here. And I don't show the date picker. Maybe let's do it at the end of the year. So some kind of an assessment, so that also the developers know at the end of the year he has to fix that, and then I save it and approve it, and that's more or less. There's also, let's say, when you have several exemptions here, you can also mark several exemptions and approve it. So also some kind of a mass mode available. Okay, going back to my IDE. Maybe the guy who had this question can only prepare, can already prepare now.
Answered it all.
Maybe you have another one? Because what I'm now doing, I'm doing a recheck in order to figure out if my exemption was accepted. By the way, there are also other findings in there. For example, I already mentioned I have the security findings in there. So as I said, I'm a little lazy, so I did not any kind of authorization check in my report here. Just not so nice idea. So this was also here figured out via the CVA, and there's also standard code checks that you have some kind of possibility for translation with text elements, all these kind of things.
Maybe you can show the option how to run a very fast just the code check whether the syntax is everything is fine. Is that also possible? Just with the right click here on the package and do the syntax check. So that's what I do quite regularly to say, okay, did I break something anywhere else in the code? Then I'm doing the syntax check on the whole package.
Oh, you stressed me a little bit.
You asked for some time.
But not these kind of questions. But I'm a pro. You mean this?
Yeah, that's the standard syntax check.
Yeah.
It's configured and running in the cloud. And you can also use this from the satellite systems.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. This is then not really remotely because this triggers the syntax check on the check system. So there's not some kind of that you can use the syntax check of the cloud system and things like that. So that definitely not.
Okay,
This is then working.
The
so there are some checks which makes no sense that you execute them on the cloud system. For example, also execution of unit tests makes no sense because the unit tests are running there. But therefore, we have some functionality which we sometimes call pseudo remote enabled. That means, in fact, they are configured on the central system, but the real check is running on the local system. Here, like the syntax check. All right, so that's already it. I hope that the check was executed properly. I already see that the priority is now a little bit lower, so it's a warning. And for sure, I don't see that finding anymore because I got an approved exemption, but I can include that as well here. I can also include the exemption finding, and then I see this again here. This was here. Also see this here in some kind of table column that there was an exemption for that. Yeah. All right, that's it so far. So looks not so bad now for the developer. So combination, quick fixes, exemptions, for sure. Also pseudo comments work in that scenario. No problem. All right, I'm still in the role of the quality experts because in the meantime I got some more emails from more developers, and they are really concerned because now also for the whole legacy developments, these checks are also applied. And then the guy said, hey, do you really that we now sit here hours and fix all these call methods in every legacy coding that we did the last 20 years? Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that's not a good idea. Therefore, we are recommending to use a so-called baseline. Baseline is that when you establish new checks, you can say you don't want to apply them for the legacy stuff, but you want to assure that every new development is already written in a way that the new checks apply. Therefore, you can set the baseline, and you maybe look, there's no baseline app available. That's okay, because that's just integrated in the custom code migration project app, which most likely is called ABAP Test Cockpit after our renaming operations. And I can just reuse that because I don't want to show this. I just want to show you how this works in principle. So you already have seen there is this add findings to baseline button. So what you're doing is you're creating a check run over your legacy coding and pick only these checks that you want to put into the baseline, let's say. So not the security stuff, so only this this thing where you don't want that your developers now change every coding and change these, create objects and things like that. Therefore, I have created this check run here at the beginning, and then I can just put all these findings that I get here into the baseline. So that's very simple. So you just click there, and then you have 3 possibilities. One is similar behavior as for the exemption, so you don't see the findings anymore. There's a similar option, but technically a little bit different to suppress these findings in the ATC. And you also have the possibility, and sometimes this is also a nice option, especially when you want to apply new checks, that you just reduce the priority of that finding, but only for the baseline. Let's say that you say, okay, for the old coding, I only want to give information for the developer that he knows there is something not so nice, but I don't want that the transport cannot be transported. And for the new stuff, then for sure it's then an error. So this is what I can do with the baseline here. So I can use that one, and that's it. That's it already. And then later on, when you also say, okay, now let's say we have maybe a little bit more time, and you really want to force that all the legacy coding will be fixed, then you can also remove the findings from the baseline. This is just integrated here. No problem. So that's the baseline feature. Also triggered from the central check system, but also then applies for the local runs on the development systems. Everything is integrated with that, what we sometimes call developer dinner. Last but not least, for sure, I'm a quality expert, and I want to see KPIs, right? I want to see how good are we over the time. So therefore, I want to have an ATC run every Friday afternoon, and I want to check if my quality is better now in our system. And therefore, I want to use now the schedule app here, because there I can schedule an ATC run over my whole system, and can define the time here. And I did this already. So that's the standard application, job application. So it's an integration of the ATC runs into there. So this is everything standard. So I think this morning we also had Björn talking about the application job. That's a framework. Let's say whenever you integrate an application job, then you're here, and we have integrated the ATC as well. And then what you can do here, you can create a new one, or I can just copy this here. And then you see how this works in principle. So at first it gives you a name. This ABAPConf. And then I can click the next step. And then I'm now in the scheduler. And for sure here I can start, okay, I want to start it directly or at the evening, or I can also do this with a recurrence pattern here. And this reminds me that at the end of the year, the Dart VM will start. And so you can choose here the time when this run should be executed. And you can also define a recurrence pattern. When you say, okay, I want to have every Friday at 6 o'clock, I want to execute this check run that I see then on the next Monday about my quality improvements in the system. And then you can also configure this here. Where is it? Yeah, correct. Weekly. This is what I'm looking for. Yeah, and then you can schedule that. There's a third step for sure where you can maybe you thought about, okay, what is now the linkage between this application shop and my ATC, and this you see here. So it's also done via this custom code migration project. So all the configuration that you did here, you can just remove here, so reuse here. So it's just a link towards that, and then this project here is executed. And I can press schedule, and that's already. And then you can check. Then when this one is executed, you go then back to the custom code migration app here. And then there you also see when the new check results are available. So you also see here, when was the last execution of that run, all these kind of things you can then figure out here in this app here. So, did I miss something?
No, you have told us a lot of things and showed a lot of capabilities.
One small thing.
Okay.
Because sometimes I also got the request, okay, and in our on-premise systems, we could create our own ATC checks, right? There was this nice code inspector infrastructure. I have already a lot of content, and this is definitely not working in the cloud, right? Because we have released APIs and that kind of things. And that's not true, because we also have now a new framework, let's say, to implement ATC checks for the cloud. So we also have released APIs to do that. And therefore, the code pal is also a very good example, because this is already implemented via the new infrastructure. So whenever you want to play around or want to learn how this thing is done, maybe it's easier to look on concrete examples. It's better to read through documentation and things like that. Therefore, you can just click on such an ATC check here, and then you're navigating to the coding. No, not here. So this is now also a transport object. So every ATC check also is implemented via an own transport object. So you can also transport it through your landscape. And then it's more or less only the implementation class here, which is important here. And then you can look how this is implemented. So it's just one class implementing this interface here, and that's already it. So looking on the methods that we have, there is one run method, and this is more or less that you have to implement. I think it's quite easy to look how this modern language check is implemented, and then you also see, okay, how can I use the language analyzer and all these kind of things. So that's also nice at the end. Then when you know how to do this, then you can also contribute to the code part, because I already mentioned this is an open source project. So when you have new ideas or want to improve the logic, then you can also incorporate your own changes and can push it on our GitHub repository. It's also possible. And that's it. Are we still in time or?
Perfect.
We have still 1 minute, probably, to close the session. Last but not least, we have some extension capabilities for central ATC on BTP. We have some APIs which are available for you if you want to extend the functionality. For example, you have the API to start ATC runs, get ATC run results, process exemptions. You have CDS views in place to get ATC exemptions and check results. You have REST APIs where you can start the ATC runs using CI pipelines, like, for example, with the project Piper. Or, as Thomas just showed, you can use API for implementation of your own ATC checks. So, summary, ABAP Test Cockpit on BTP is full-featured. The main features are there. We recommend it really to use for clean governance of your private cloud or premise developments. You have all the necessary features in place. Of course, it's not realistic to rebuild all the features which are available in SAP GUI ATC, but still the most essential features are there. You can execute custom code analysis. You can create your own check variant, your own checks. You have robust workflow for handling exemptions. You have developer scenario where you can use ATC on BTP as a developer. You have baseline to exclude legacy findings. You have scheduler to schedule ATC runs, and you can still use Charm for transport management and integration of change requests in your on-premise or private cloud systems. If you want to get more information which features will come in the area of cloud ATC, just take a look at the BTP ABAP environment roadmap. There, the new features will be provided in the context of cloud ATC as well. Here's some information on how to get the BTP ABAP environment. We recommend to start with 2 blocks ABAP runtime and 4 blocks with HANA persistency to manage cloud ATC execution. And more information, as usual, in our ABAP testing and analysis community. There is a dedicated session there, a section about cloud ATC, all the blocks which are relevant to all the ATC features which we told about and which Thomas showed to you are there. Having said this, thank you very much for your attention.